want to find that drive and focus that has you locked in and on fire every single day, my book, The Mirror of Motivation, will do it for you. I bought a copy for you. You take care of the shipping. The book is free. Click the link down there. I got you.
DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves me, you, and everybody else out there to go make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all of this together into one package, into one bundle, and what you end up having is the mindset. You have the method, you have a philosophy, you had a book. If you don't have a book, go get it. And you had a podcast you're listening to right now. It is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to be a solutions-oriented person. I thought of this subject as I was recently listening to an interview of a guy by the name of Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, if you don't know, he works for ESPN. He is, I would say, probably right now, the most popular personality working at ESPN. I think it was him and this other guy named Skip Bayless, and they were on the same show, this debate TV show. They basically started this whole debate show format. Those two guys made it popular, at least. Now everybody's doing it. But Stephen A. is probably the biggest name at ESPN right now. He does a whole lot of NBA stuff, has a TV show called First Take that he hosts with a co-host by name of, at least as of now, Max Kellerman. But everybody knows who Stephen A. is. If you follow sports at all, you know who the guy is. He used to work actually for the Philadelphia, I'm not sure if it was a Daily News, I think it was the Philadelphia Daily News he worked for when I was in my teens, back in the early Allen Iverson years when he was playing for the Philadelphia 76ers. That's when I first came across this guy, Stephen A. And I was captivated by his personality, just the style and the way that he communicated from the very beginning on TV. But anyway, I'm bringing up Stephen A. because, as I said, I heard him being interviewed. I was just giving y'all the background so I know who the guy is. He's I don't even know what you call a columnist. Well, he was a columnist, journalist. Now he's I guess we just call him a personality because he has his own radio show, TV shows, stuff like that. He's on the air, on the screen. So I guess we'll call him a personality. But anyway, he was saying when he first started working at ESPN, his first 5 years or so, up to about 2008, he had a contract. And when his contract ran out, at first his contract was not renewed by ESPN. And the person who was interviewing him, I believe the guy's name is Patrick Bet-David. He has a channel on YouTube called Valuetainment. I believe that's where I was listening to. It was just the other day, but I think that's what it is. But just look up Stephen A. Smith interview and you'll see it. It just happened recently, at least when I'm recording this. So maybe a few weeks ago for you. But anyway, look it up, you'll find it. And Stephen A. was saying when his contract didn't get renewed at ESPN, he started asking himself, because this is the way that he was raised to think, what was it that I did wrong that caused this situation? And this was along the lines of what he was talking about in the course of this interview. What did I do to cause this situation, even though he might have thought overall he did everything he needed to do? But one of the things that Stephen A. said he lamented about his behavior at ESPN during his first tenure there was that he was not being a solutions-oriented person, that he spent a whole lot of his time whenever he was talking to the bosses, anytime he interacted with them, he was only telling them about problems. He rarely came to the bosses offering solutions. He only came to them offering problems. So in that way, he didn't say this, but this is what I took from it, and why I'm talking about this here today, is that he kind of made himself into somewhat of a problem. Even though he's very talented, even though he was skilled and he had an audience that was slowly growing, he wasn't who he is now back then, but he was known. He was getting to be known in the sports entertainment space just by his personality and the stuff that he would talk about and just the way that he laid it out there. But because he was making himself such a headache, because every time he came to the bosses, he was bringing a problem, he became somebody that they wanted to get rid of. He became somebody that people wanted to replace. And that's the point that I want to get across to you here today when we get into our points, is that in life, any situation that you're in, I don't care if it's between you and one other person, if it's you working at a company and you have bosses, if it's you running a company and you have people working for you and you're the boss, if you're somewhere in between, you got bosses and you're the boss of other people, or just any group of people that you're dealing with. It could be your followers on Facebook. It could be some people who work with you in a volunteer organization. It could be your teammates on a sports team. It could be your family members in a family. You don't want to be the person who gets the reputation as every time we hear from you, you're pointing out something is wrong, something is a problem, something needs to be fixed. You don't want to be that person because people don't want to be around it. Nobody wants to hear that same stuff from the same person all the time. They will be better off getting rid of you than having to listen to your venting of a laundry list of problems every time you come around. People know every time that they see your name on a caller ID, all they're going to hear is a bunch of problems. They're probably going to stop taking your calls. They know that that's what they're going to get when you walk in the room. They're going to find a way to meet in a different room and not tell you about the change. So then you're showing up to the room and you're just sitting there by yourself. People don't want to hear from a person who's always bringing problems. If you're going to address something that you think could be better, then what you need to be is a solutions-oriented thinker, solutions-oriented communicator. And as I get into my points here, you're going to understand all the contingencies of what I'm saying here. So don't take just what I'm saying at this point at face value and draw your conclusions. Listen to everything. Make sure you understand the contingencies of everything I'm giving you here, and make sure you factor what you hear today. Factor this in with what you have heard in all the other episodes that you've been listening to of Work on Your Game, and make sure you choose the right actions based on your particular circumstance or situation. Because there are times in life when it does make sense to be the person who's pointing out the problem, but it's not all the time, and it is not a job for everybody. So again, factor in what you're hearing so far with what you're about to hear and what you have heard in your past and what you're going to hear in the future. Let's get into it. Point number one, today's topic, once again, is how to be a solutions-oriented person. Number one, have your own shit together first. If you didn't follow any other point, if you got to go right now, you got to get out your car right now because you got to be at work. If somebody just told you got to turn your phone off, or you got to turn the speakers off, or you got to turn this down because there's a call coming through and you got to take it, stop listening to me, you can pause it right here at this point. This is a perfect time to pause it. Okay, and now I gave you enough that you can make some really wise decisions. The 80-20 rule, you make 80% of your wise decisions with just what I've given you in the first 6 minutes here. All right, so being that solutions-oriented person, you must have your own shit together first before you offer anyone else a solution. If whatever you're offering to point out a circumstance, a challenge, a problem, an issue, and you decide you want to offer some solutions as well, here's your pre-qualification to even do that. Here it is. Have your own shit together first. In other words, if you don't have your own game together, whatever game we're talking about, you are unqualified to diagnose problems, and you are also in turn unqualified to offer solutions to anyone else. The only thing you're qualified to do if your own game is not together is to identify your own problems and fix those. That's the only thing you're qualified to do. Only then and only then, after you've done that, should you even think about, not even easy to say do it, should you even think about offering to point out any other person's issues and or solutions. Now, does this mean, since I'm saying this, does this mean that other people don't have problems? No, it doesn't mean that. They do. Other people have problems. You're not the only one. Does it mean that you couldn't possibly see what somebody else could possibly fix? Doesn't mean that either. So this is what I'm saying. You could be a person who's not in great physical shape. You can see another person who's not in great physical shape, and you have some suggestions for what they could do. I'm telling you that until you get your own shit right, you shouldn't tell them anything, even though you know some stuff that you believe would help them. Don't tell them anything, because first thing they're going to look at, they're not going to look at the message, they're going to look at the messenger. This is the way that we think as human beings. We don't look at the message, we look at the messenger. If we don't buy into the messenger, we're not trying to hear the message. There are people who could very well benefit from the message that I share on this Work on Your Game show on a consistent basis. But if they're not buying into the messenger, they don't like guys with tattoos, they don't like black guys, they don't like people who don't wear a suit and tie when they create their content, if they don't like people who curse, they don't like people who play sports, they don't like those things, then they're not buying into the messenger, they're not trying to hear the message. And that's perfectly all right, okay? I'm not here to tell you that they need to change, because it ain't changing. Humans are humans. We are who we are. People look at the messenger before they listen to the message. So if your messenger, that means you, or whatever that game is you're talking about, if that's not in the right shape, people ain't trying to hear anything that you had to say. Therefore, you need to self-diagnose. Do I have my own shit together in this space? Have I done this thing that I'm offering someone a solution on? Do I have any credibility in this space in which I'm offering someone else an opinion? If you can't answer in the affirmative to all of those questions and others, keep your opinions, keep your solutions, keep your pointing out of issues, keep it all to yourself. Right? You will help everybody, including yourself, by doing that. Again, doesn't mean people don't have problems, but they just don't want to hear from you. All right, if you haven't handled your own business yet, what are you doing And here's another reason why you shouldn't do this. If you haven't handled your own business yet, what are you doing dedicating your resources to other people's issues? It's an interesting question, right? It's a question that you need to have an answer to. If you haven't figured out your own issues, why are you taking your resources, your time, money, attention, energy, focus, and putting them on other people when you can't even help you yet? If you can't help you where you are, then you shouldn't be trying to help anybody else where they are. If you haven't fixed up your own home, you shouldn't be looking into anybody else's windows. All right, I know there's a saying that's somewhere along those lines. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? If you are physically out of shape, don't tell somebody else how to work out. What sense does that make? Why would they want to hear from you? There's plenty of people who are in shape who can tell them how to do it. They'll more readily listen to that person saying the same thing that you said. If you don't have an audience, don't tell somebody else how to serve theirs. You never created or sold a product. Don't tell someone else how to sell theirs. What sense does that make? Again, always remember that people look at the messenger before they look at the message. So if they're not buying you, they're not buying it. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to be a solutions-oriented person. If you do qualify based on what I gave you on point number 1, so you meet the criteria that you do have your own shit together in a certain area, or at least you're in the process of getting your shit together in a certain area, and it's obvious and people can tell, they know it, hopefully before you even start talking, because you shouldn't have to sell them on that by the time you have their attention. If you have done that, and you decide you're going to offer some people some solutions, I suggest that you offer options and alternatives, not just one solution. I was listening to some podcast, some guy was being interviewed, and he was talking about how he submitted article ideas to the editors of large publications because he wanted to get himself published in these publications because he felt it would build his credibility and make him look better in his space so he could continue building his brand and his image and doing his things. And one of the things that he said, the best thing he said in the whole interview, it was about a 40-minute interview. This guy didn't say anything interesting except this one thing. This is what he said. He would send to the editors of these magazines when he's submitting his topics, he would send them 3 or 4 topic ideas and then just a couple of bullet points telling them what the topic would be about, how he would flesh it out. He would send 3 or 4 of those to the editors at a time. So then, instead of the editor having to look at one idea and say, all right, is this idea good or bad, and having to make this choice in a vacuum, not having anything to compare it to, instead this guy starts sending them the editor 3 or 4 topics. So the editor could just look at all 4 and say, all right, this one is the best one. And it was increasing his chances, at least this guy claimed, it was increasing his chances of actually having one of his topics chosen so that he could actually get published in these large publications. And I think that's a really good idea. And it's the same thing, that's why I'm passing it on to you right here. Same thing you should do when you're offering people solutions. Offer them options and alternatives. So when you go to someone, don't just say, here's the issue and here's how to fix it. Because they might not agree that that's the issue, and or they may not agree with your process of how to fix it, or your offer of how to fix it, or your prescription of how to fix it. Because you may be telling somebody how to fix something, but you're not willing to do any of the work. That's another thing you should probably catch yourself on. I don't think I had that one in my notes. But if you're not part of the solution, then you're still part of the problem, even if you're pointing it out often in life. Yes, if you're not part of the solution, you're not offering something to actually implement the solution that you are suggesting, you are making it even more of a problem because somebody has to put some time, effort, and energy into actually fixing it, even if they agree with you. So you see, these are all the things that you should be doing before you even go to anyone pointing out a problem. If you're not willing to do these things and or you haven't been doing these things, it's best to just not say anything. That will help. Again, it will help you. It'll help you in your dealings with these people. Maybe they'll still be open and listening to you, and it'll help them because now you're not putting more problems on their plate that they have to figure out what to do with those problems, because obviously you're not going to do anything with them either. So we're still on point number 2 here. So you go to someone and say, look, here's the issue. Here are 3 ways we can handle it. Here are the pros and cons of each of the 3 ways. Now, if you do that, I guarantee people will be much more open to hearing from you. Actually, they may ask you for some more questions. They may want to hear more things from you if you can be that thorough and that consistent. Let me say again how you would lay out offering solutions to another person. You go to them and you let them know here's the issue. Let them know why that issue is the issue and how it's affecting them and or whoever may be involved. Let them know that. That's the first thing. Then let them know the options on how to fix it. Here's option 1, option 2, option 3. Here are the pros and cons of option 1. Pros and cons of option 2, pros and cons of option 3. This is the work that you would do before you even approach them. Before they even know that there's a problem going on, you've done all this work before you approach them in the first place. And if you're not willing to do these things, it's fine. Okay, because this does take a little bit of time. It does take a little bit of effort. You're not willing to do these things, fine. Then here's what you do. Take that same energy, that same attention, and put it on yourself. So you don't have to worry about helping anybody else with their problems. Put that same energy and attention on you, and you don't need to do any of this stuff that I'm talking here today. So yes, this would take time and investment if you're going to lay out these options and alternatives, which you should do if you're going to point out a problem to a person. If you're unwilling to make this investment, just stay away from offering people feedback. They probably don't want to hear it anyway, at least not from you. Again, as I said in point number 1, we look at the messenger before we look at the message. If you remember one thing about offering people advice, whether it be for a problem, something that they mentioned themselves, any way, shape, or form that you're going to offer another person advice, always remember that the first thing we as human beings look at is the messenger, not the message. Even though in an ideal world, in a completely objective world where people were just completely 100% rational and we just thought of things on a practical, rational, non-emotional level, we were completely dispassionate about everything that we dealt with in life, people would just listen to the message, didn't matter where it came from. All right, if that was the case, a lot of things in life would be different, but that's not how life is, that's not how humans are, that's not how other people are, and it's also not how you are if you think about it honestly. We always judge the messenger first, and if we're not feeling the messenger, we don't even hear the message. The message is like Charlie Brown's teacher, right? You know how Charlie Brown's teacher sounds? Or Google it. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to be a solutions-oriented person. Offer your solutions, and this goes right to what I've already talked about here. Offer your solutions where they are accepted, valued, and wanted. Do not offer your solutions where or if they are unsolicited, ignored, or forced. I want to repeat this one because this is a big one, especially nowadays, since everyone has, anyone who's on the internet can be accessed in some way, shape, or form. And there are a whole lot of people on the internet that may know about you, that you don't even know that they know about you, that have a way to access you, and they can share with you their severe intelligence on any subject that they wish, as much as they wish, at least until you have some controls in place to keep them away from you. But let me say this point again. For all of you who wish to offer your intelligence, to offer your knowledge, you want to share your brilliance with another person who may or may not be aware of your existence, or may not be interested in your existence, even if and when they are aware. Here's what you need to do. Follow this, listen to this again. Offer your solutions where they are accepted, valued, and wanted. Let's dive into those 3 words. How do you know that something's been accepted, valued, and wanted? Usually a person will respond to you if they accept, value, and want to hear from you. That's a pretty good one, right? A couple days ago, yesterday, we were talking about your anti-people skills. And the 3rd point in yesterday's episode, what did I talk about? I said, ladies who are listening to this, you ever encountered a male who just didn't quite get the message when you didn't respond to what he was saying, and he knows that you heard you? You didn't accept his message. You did not want to hear his message, and you did not value his message. Whatever it was he was trying to communicate, even after he said it the 4th time, you did not accept, value, or want it, and he obviously didn't get the message. This is what I'm telling all of you. This is an anti-people skill right here. All right, so this goes hand in hand with that episode. Do not offer solutions to people who do not accept your solutions and or don't accept you as a person. Do not value your solutions and or do not value you as a person, and do not want your solutions and or do not want you as a person. Again, how do you know if you're wanted by a person? Usually, if somebody wants to interact with you, at some point, they will come to you. So this is something that I talked about. We talked about this a lot yesterday, but I mentioned this maybe a month or 2 ago on the show. Look at your phone call records. Look at your text message records. And look at your individual text conversations with any one person. Do you notice that you're always the one talking and they're not really saying much back to you? They're giving you a clear message that they're not quite that interested in that conversation. Maybe you should stop trying. Find somebody else to talk to. If you find that when you talk to another person, you're always the one making the call and they're always the one either taking the call or sending it the voicemail, or you call somebody and they hit you back with a text because they don't really want to talk to you that much, they don't value a conversation with you that much, they're giving you a loud and clear message that you are just not hearing. Offer your solutions, say it again, you should know these 3 words by now, where they are accepted, valued, and wanted. Not where, now we're going to dive into these 3 words because these words require some examination as well. Unsolicited, ignored, and forced. This is a big one in the self-help, personal development, solutions, advice space. And this doesn't mean, and when I say the space, I don't mean necessarily that you have a brand or you're online publishing content. Just if you plan on offering a person a solution or offering them some advice or telling them something that you think will make them better or telling them something that you think would improve their life or their whatever in any way, shape, or form, if you are finding, first of all, if you're offering someone unsolicited advice or an unsolicited solution, meaning they did not ask you for it, but you're offering it to them anyway, this is you need to be very, very careful in that space. That's thin ice, okay? You offer someone an unsolicited solution or unsolicited advice and they do not respond to you. They ignore you. It seems like you're forcing it on them. They do not accept it. They obviously don't value it and they don't want any more from you because they didn't tell you they wanted more. Take the hint. Learn to read between the lines of what people don't say, because most people are very polite, and even people who are not very polite, they often try to be polite, even if they're not that good at it. They're trying to send you a clear signal. But a lot of people who are so self-centered, so self-focused that they don't notice what is not being said, they keep thinking that they should keep going. All right, sometimes you just need to stop. Like Eva Mendes told the guy in the bar in the movie Hitch, when I say I'm not interested, that doesn't mean try harder. All right, when someone tells you they're not interested by not responding to you, if no one asked you, you probably shouldn't offer it. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. If you are not asked to offer a solution, if you are not asked to point out problems, maybe you should not do it. If your solutions or your advice or your help, whatever, if you want to call it that, is ignored, people are just not responding to you. It just seems like no one wants to hear what you are saying, or at least that person or those people don't want to hear what you're saying. They don't seem to be paying you much attention. They're just ignoring you. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you as a person. This is not an indictment of you as an individual. There are 8 billion people on this planet. So if 1 or 2 of them or 200 of them just seem to be ignoring you, that's fine. You still have over 7 billion others to choose from. Go where, as I heard Reverend Run once say this from Run DMC, he said, because he's also an ordained minister, he said, go where you are adored, not where you are ignored. If you're being ignored somewhere, you're just in the wrong place, talking to the wrong people. Now, you can change that. You can't change whether somebody ignores you or not. You can't change, well, you can, but it's many times not worth the effort to try to change whether someone's ignoring, especially if they're ignoring you purposefully. Now, if they just don't know about you, maybe if you got their attention, they start paying attention to you. But if someone knows about you and then they choose to ignore you voluntarily, okay, you're in the wrong place talking to the wrong person. You need to move around a bit. Go outside, take a walk, find some new people to talk to. If it is forced, if you are forcing your opinions, your advice, your ideas, your whatever on other people, you should not be offering it in the first place. If you have to force it on a person, they probably don't want it. When people want what you have to offer, I heard a businessman once say this, not only do they accept your phone calls when you call, they will also call you. If people are interested in you, you don't have to make them get interested. You'll know that they're interested because you'll see their emails in your inbox. You'll see their messages in your direct messages. You'll see their @replies in your tweets. You'll see their letters in your physical mailbox, or anyone who still does that. You'll see their missed calls in your call logs. You'll see their messages in your voicemail. You'll see their texts in your text messages when they're interested. Now, if you're not seeing any of those from anyone or from any particular person, that's giving you a loud and clear message that maybe you are offering unsolicited information, maybe you are being ignored, and maybe you're forcing it. In other words, go find somewhere else to do it. Do not offer a solution to a person who, in your eyes, you think that they don't think they have a problem. Any of you ever come across that person? A person who you look at them, you see what they're doing, you see how they're doing it, maybe you have some experience, maybe you have some knowledge, some expertise even in a particular area, and you see that another person, through their eyes, they don't feel like they have a problem. They think everything they're doing is absolutely right. They think what they're doing is perfect. They think they don't need any advice. They think they don't need any help. And you're like, I know this person needs help. I know this person is not perfect. I know this person needs to change some things. And you know what they can change. This is the one offer rule that I gave you weeks ago. Make one offer to that person of advice, of help, of information, of a solution. One offer. If they do not respond to that one, you're talking to the wrong person. This is where you must be mature enough to go find somebody else to talk to who might be interested in what you have to say. Now, if you find this is happening over and over and over and over again, okay, it might be a hint. Maybe you shouldn't be offering information in that particular space. Maybe you shouldn't be offering it at all. Maybe people are not buying into you as a messenger. It could be any of these things. It could be 10 other things besides that. But that's giving you a loud and clear hint that maybe something you're doing is not right. Again, something that you are doing is not right. It's not the other person. We can't change other people. We can always change ourselves. That's why on this show, we always, even when we're talking about other people, this episode is about being a solutions-oriented person when you're dealing with others. But we're always bringing it back to us. It is not your business to change other people. Even if you think they should change, even if you know exactly how they could change, even if you 1000% believe that if they listen to you, they would change and change for the better, it is not your business to force that change upon other people. It is not your business. Do not offer your solutions or advice or information or whatever you want to call it to anyone who in the past has shown that they do not value your offer and or has ignored your communication. Everyone has access to a megaphone these days, right? Your Instagrams, your social medias, your emails, you can create whatever content you see other people creating, you can pretty much do it too. Everyone has access to a megaphone, right? We can make a whole lot of noise. That doesn't mean you should be talking. Just because you have one doesn't mean you have to use it. All right, just because you have a car doesn't mean you have to drive all day. All right, there are times you can just park the car and go in the house. All right, just because you have gym membership doesn't mean you got to spend 24 hours a day in the gym. Just because you have a phone doesn't mean you always got to be on it. All right, sometimes it just makes sense to put it down and do something else. Let's recap today's topic, which is how to be a solutions-oriented person, at least in an effective way. I heard Stephen A. Smith talking about this on an interview, and one of the problems that he said that he noticed about his own self was that he was always coming to people with problems, never solutions, and it repelled people away from him. They wanted to get away from him and not deal with him despite his talent, despite the fact that he was a growing star, because every time he came around, people started to anticipate that there was going to be a problem pointed out, but no solutions offered. You don't want to be this type of person because it'll do the same thing to you. And if you don't have Stephen A. Smith's talent, it'll probably do even worse. Point number one, have your own shit together first. If you do not have your own game together, you are unqualified to diagnose problems or in turn offer solutions to other people. Doesn't mean other people don't have problems, and it doesn't mean that they couldn't be fixed. But remember that everyone buys into the messenger before they buy into the message. They're not buying you as the messenger. They will never listen to anything you had to say in your message. So stop trying. Point number two, offer people options and alternatives, not just one solution. In other words, let people know this is the issue. Here are some ways we can handle it. Here are the pros and cons of each. That's the type of investment you need to make up front before you tell anyone about any issue or problem or something that needs to be fixed that you have observed that they haven't pointed out to you, nor have they asked you for. So be very careful when you're doing this, even if you choose to follow through. And point number three, offer your solutions, there's the follow-up on that, where they are accepted, valued, and wanted, not where they are unsolicited, ignored, and forced. In other words, do not offer a solution to a person who obviously is showing you that they don't feel they have a problem, at least not a problem that they want to hear about from you. It is not your business to change other people. Do not offer to some who in the past have not valued your offers and or ignored your communication. It should be obvious to you when somebody's ignoring you or not paying attention to you or not interested in you, doesn't value you, doesn't want to talk to you. When you're offering unsolicited information to them, it's obvious, right? Because you're doing all the talking and they're not saying anything back. Isn't that obvious? All right, if you can understand the words that I'm saying right now, you can understand that. So if you find yourself doing that, the first step to getting out of a hole is what, ladies and gentlemen? Say it all together. Stop digging. Everybody has access to a megaphone these days. That does not mean you had to be talking. Now, in a game group membership, I have a whole section on relationships where I've taken every topic where I talked about dealing with other people, building relationships, things you can do to fuck up relationships, things you can do to cause people not ever want to deal with you in any way, shape, or form. We have a section on business, and business is the exchange of resources between people. If people don't have a positive relationship with you, even if their relationship could be as simple as you write something and they read it. You may have never met this person, never heard of them, don't even know they exist, but they feel there's that much of a relationship, they will be willing to do business with you if the relationship is positive. So in the business section, that's also relationships. There's a section on communication where I'm talking directly about when you are expressing yourself to and with other people. That's both in the listening side and in the speaking side, the conveying side. This topic is going to be in that category. The communications, your ability to talk to other people, to listen to other people. It's a 50-50 thing, talking and listening, not 60-40, not 70-80, not 90-10, like most people treat it. Communication skills is a whole category of that, of every episode of this show that I've ever done talking about communication, about business, about relationships, and 20 other categories, 20 plus, because we're always adding new categories when I add material that kind of doesn't fit into any particular box that I've created already. All of that is part of the Game Group membership. But listen, I don't want you to take my word for how great the membership is. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to go to workonmygame.com/game group, where I'm offering you a special 2-week free trial membership to the Game Group. You can use it for 2 weeks, see everything that's in it, exactly what you're getting, so you know exactly what it is. So you don't just have to listen to me talk about it, you can see it for yourself. That's at workonmygame.com/game group. Work on your game. Dre all day.